Hey everybody, it's your pal Drew. You can call me Dreary Drew because I've just had a weird feeling today. Or not feeling, it's just like you have days, you soldier through, and you do stuff, and then you have great days. But it's just been weird. Like once in a while you just get a weird day. But a lot of times the comics will cheer you up, or anything, whether it's a movie or some other form of entertainment. So I'm going to do an episode of Random Comics from my Spinner Rack. I'm going to jump right into this. Ultraverse was created by Malibu Comics, who had a lot of books that came out in the black and white boom in the mid to late 80s. Well, they published the first year of Image Comics, where Rob Liefeld, Todd McFarlane, Eric Larson, etc., etc. But it was such a crazy deal. The Image creators would get 90%. Which is just, when I heard that, I thought, well, they'll be out of business because, 10% isn't enough to start a comics line or to resume one. But I was wrong. I was really wrong. And apparently the 10% of all that money that was made was enough for them to publish this self-contained world called the Ultraverse. And so I picked this up a while back. It's one of my favorites, called Sludge. Steve Gerber is the writer. I can't remember the last thing he did before that. He did some stuff for animation, and he did, I think, a book called Fool Killer or something like that in the early 90s. I can't recall. And Aaron Lopresti, he's impressed me. He's one of those guys that the first time I saw his name, it was like, man, this guy's a pro. And not only is a pro, he's a good one. Gary Martin did the inks. Just jump right into this bad boy. Chris Ulm, who is part owner, is the editor. Paul Mounts is the colorist. He's pretty popular. Anyway, he's in the this is like 1993, I think. And this talk show guy is talking about, I don't know, he's just talking about murder and all kinds of nastiness in the city. Oh my gosh. And people get killed in the streets. This guy comes out. Schloop knew it. Had to be debtors. No. I don't know what debtors means. Killers, that's it. Damn my head. See, he's not thinking clearly. Like, he says debtors, but he means to say killers. So he's sort of between Swamp Thing and Man Thing, where Swamp Thing can have solid, clear thoughts, but his voice is he's hard for him to speak. But Man Thing, he's just mute, a piece of compost. Pull over. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. And they shoot him up, and they just stab him and splat. And they're like, yeah. Chill out, we got a minute. Better split for the cops. Short, but damn head. Mixed up, yeah, and slow, too slow. It hurts. It hurts to think sometimes, worse than bullets. Jeez. Give me room. I'll hack that slimy shit. 2 pizzas. 2 pizzas. Slut 2 pizzas. Do it. Whack him a hack. And no, that's not going to happen. He grabs the guy by the arm, and his flesh has meshed together. Give me. You want to come and get it? They're still audacious, trying to hold up. Sludge gets the guy's face, lets it go, and it's horribly misshapen and painful way to die, I hope. And this is similar to his face mushing abilities. It's similar to the Morlocks from X-Men, where there was a guy called, what was his name? His name was Mask, but it was not M-A-S-K. It was M-A-Q-U. I can't spell that right now. You know what I'm saying. It's spelled Mask. Mask-Q. It's pronounced Mask. So he's making short order of these guys. Crunch. And what's neat is he's giving Sludge like a Bernie Wrightson feel, but everything else does not, and that's kind of neat. Yeah, I like that a lot. And inking is a little too, I don't know, it's a little too one note. And there he is in the sewer. Get shit in here. This is like towards the end of the wild speculation mark. 0 + 0 = excitement. Your math teacher was wrong. Like, wow, that is cool. Pain. I'm alive. Yeah, what happened to me? Really cool stuff. And next issue, because they pay me. Now, flip book. Rune by Betty Winsall Smith. Love that stuff. And I think the colors, yeah, it's drawn and colored by Barry Windsor Smith, who he's just such a magnificent colorist on his own stuff. And he's never colored anybody else's stuff because why? You don't have to. And he comes out with these crazy colors that are just brilliant. And it's only those pages. And then you get a hint of The Nightman, which actually got to be a TV show for a little bit. It was on a syndicated channel, and I can't remember what. And but that's about it. This is Derek Robertson. Very early on, he had a real clean style, like very, you know, borrowing a little bit of the clean stuff that like a lot of people did a lot of non-image artists did at the time. And this is sort of like a like a Kevin McGuire rendering sort of thing. And you get Magnor, which is Sergio Aragonés, and which came out. Now we got Bloodscent by Kamiko, and Kamiko's a fascinating company. I'd love to see like a little book about it. You know how the company worked, because they published. The first one's a published Mage by Matt Wagner, and they did have a lot of different like good books. They had some turkeys, but they also had, I don't know what's going on with those guys back then. Gene Colan, shot directly from pencils. Dean Allen Schreck, who I think is Bob Schreck's brother or cousin. Gene Colan, introduced by some guy I don't know, some sci-fi guy or horror guy. I love that. That's a ballsy way to do it. The deed was done. And the coloring I love. It's real, I always say that it's real sympathetic to the art. I know that sounds really dumb, but you know, if you don't get one, that's there we go, Steve Olaf. That's why I forgot. So it's this guy on the run. He is a killer. And here's the thing with Gene Colan at this era. I mean, he'd been in the business 50 years or so, and at this point, the last 10, 20 years, he'd gotten a really loose, I don't want to say sloppy in a good way, like almost painterly, and his anatomy would be off and stuff like that, but that wasn't important. The important thing was I mean, that is conveying motion and panic, and you're not going to stay there for long. And I just love it. I love it. So this bat attacks him. 2 bats, actually. Oh, I love that. I actually got to meet him very briefly at the San Diego Comic-Con, and I had him do... I commissioned an Iron Man sketch from him, and it did not fail. To meet my expectations, it was exceptional. So this is kind of a Stephen King type story, so that's why not a lot is going on that is physical as far as running and moving and encountering others. And if you dig Colan, in the 80s he did a book, like a 2 or 3 part miniseries called Ragamuffins. I think it was Pacific. No. Some other company published it, and it was shot from the pencils. And then also there was the Detectives Incorporated, a miniseries that came out also. The first one was by Marshall Rogers, and then the second one was by Gene Colan. Now, going to, well, time for the following those trends. Taxi, follow that trend. De Laurentiis's God's King Kong was, I think it just come out or was about to come out. Here's a Kirby cover that was laid out by somebody else. That is a total redraw there. That's got to be. Same here. But it's a really fun cover. Still only 25 cents. Sickens me. And here we got George Perez's yours, but the first three pages by Rich Buckler. Now, what's amazing, what's really, really cool, is for years, Marvel had like 4 top artists of the time working on FF, so it was always a high quality. You would either have George Perez, or Rich Buckler, or John Buscema, or somebody else, I can't recall. And, but I mean, always quality stuff. And, because they, well, I mean, back then it was still, very, very, I don't know how to put it. It was still treated like a high-class comic. And it was for many years, and then it was not. So there goes your Buckler pages. And you're going into, right there's a George Perez. Zoom in, pal. It's crappy printing, too. And Johnny Storm, his dating Frankie Ray. They first went out when the Crusader showed up about 10 issues prior. And when you became the Human Torch to tackle that marauder who called himself a Crusader, I don't know, it just sort of freaked me out. Somehow I can't explain it. No need to. Flaming on is about socially accepted as streaking. So he says, I told the boss man I want out of the Fantastic Four and the whole super scene. There's got to be more to life than starting up into a bonfire and maybe you're, please don't say it yet, it's too soon. And, well, look there. So this big spaceship lands. He's like, holy hell, I don't know where it came from. Johnny, no, you said you wouldn't. Golden Gorilla comes out. Johnny takes off. She's horrified. The big puss, he turns around and says, and he returns as slightly as he left. I'm back, Frankie. I'm sorry. I'm going to give up being a superhero. I've got to start sometime. So it might as well be now when the entire city is threatened by this gigantic gorilla. That's so stupid. I knew it was stupid then. I believe it's stupid now. It's just dumb. It's just dumb. I mean, that's her. Later on, Byrne came up with the reason she had that hang-up, but it's like, even if she has a hang-up, you leave the situation, So, well, I'm not going to be a superhero. I'm not going to save anybody. That's really cool. A little goofy there with the spatula and the domestic skirt and all that. Wow. Love this. The gorilla throws the Fantastic car, and Reed is wrestling with the controls, and he just manages to scrunch onto the top of a building and not get hurt. What? There's trouble? The FF in trouble? I'll be... No, you said... Look, I like you a lot, but I can't let my friend and my sister get killed while I hear it on the FM radio. I'm cutting out now. And I'm like, you... blanky blank. And we did learn by John Byrne came up with the reason why, but still that's just crazy. It's like, I have a problem with flames, but don't save your family or the rest of New York City. So this was like a mixed bag. This was like, it's kind of like when you're trying to separate pages with your fingers and you ain't got any fingernails to do it with. So anyway, catches a big old ape. Galactus. He can talk. He reduced in size. Blah, 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 blah. The whole Counter-Earth storyline that this starts off, pretty dreadful. Pretty quick to, miss. Mystery Science Theater comic. by Netflix, but it's also Dark Horse. They did 4 issues, and they also did variant covers. So there's like 7 or 8. If you're going to collect the covers, and it's really cool. What's nice is Joel Hodgson is involved. Developed for comics, created for comics, and he's just all the way involved. And this came out, let's see, 2018. I really recommend this. They have a trade paperback of this that you could probably get either at your comic stores or online. So send them the comic in the hole. And that's supposed to be King of Forster and TV's son of TV's Frank. What they do is very similar to, you might have seen like Marvel did Marvel Romance, reprinting a small trade paperback. They did one, and they did it using like new words. Like they made it really sarcastic and kind of. So what they did is they gave Tom Servo his head, and he would repeat the exact lines. But what they did is they added, what is it? Let's see. Oh, that little circle there, that was the riff. Good morning, sleepyhead. Have some breakfast. Thanks. This country air really makes you hungry. I can't wait to use my new stomach. That kind of stuff. It's fun. It's a lot of fun. If you like it, Ministry 3K. MST3K. Now, what's great is Jonah, who was, the third host of Mystery Science Theater, is thrown into the story by Lee Elias, a Black Cat story, which is just great. Here she comes. That's the greatest costume. It's sexy as hell. I'm not sorry to say that. The floor, oh, and then here's a riff because it's got a little word bubble. There's just no cool way to land on your butt. So really, really good stuff. It's fun, but I mean, you have to. If MST3K is not your thing, this isn't for you. But I found it really enjoyable. That's kind of neat. Look at. Anyway, last one is my man, Iron Man. This was okay. Here we go with the Bronze Age tale of this issue. George Tuska had drawn the book for years and years and years and years, and then they moved him on to other things. He sort of became their Jack Kirby, and he, not as strong as Jack Kirby, but he did a lot of powerhouse punches and, all kinds of action stuff, and they moved him all over the place. He worked on, like a few months of Avengers, and then he did a couple months of Champions, and then he moved on to Black Goliath. He did like the first 3 or so. So they used him as that, and the regular Iron Man artist became, as of issue 73, I think, was Arvell Jones. And he did, this whole run is hilarious. It's supposed to be an ongoing story of War of the Superheroes between issue 68 all the way to 81, but it was plagued with reprints and fill-ins. So George Tuska was filling in on the book that he almost always was drawing, and he did the next one as well, 79. But this is a great story. Gil Kane. And this flashback, it's really well done. It's what I liked about it was, at the time, he had the schnoz. See, he had the nose that everybody hated, but that was my Iron Man at the time. He had the schnoz. But this goes back to his earlier costume, and I thought that was really cool. So he's thinking about his days in Vietnam, where he was a weapons maker. And I'm like, I'm such a geek. I'm like, look at that costume. Look at that. I mean, look at the helmet. Look at the helmet. And he's there to check up on everything. And then reality sets in. What amazes me, Bill Mantlo wrote this, and he was incredible from day one. He had the sense to, this guy's describing everything that's going on, and just this once, he gets shot. It's like no big superfluous commentator. It's like, and the gunshot was still ringing in my ears as I whirled to see Major. that's the way it happens in war. It's like sometimes you don't look, and all of a sudden, or you're doing your own thing. So, because your CO's order were to hold back an enemy advance, set the target fighting mechanism on Stark's gun, and pray that it works. And it seems to, but it gets fired upon. Takes one of the missiles out with a blast, but he got caught in the explosion of the other one. Can't fly without my boot chips. Wow, is that sweet or not? This is the story. It was very different from the usual superhero stuff, and I think George Tuska really stood up to the, he kind of really got into it, not just kick-ass stuff. And he falls, and his chest is straining because it's back when on his heart. Back when for many years he had a heart. You know how it goes. Just watch the first movie, and dead all of them. They didn't have a chance once the gun was knocked out. And he goes over to his truck. There's the battery, and he decides to charge himself. And the current screamed through me, burning at my chest like a piece of metal from an enemy landmine that had lodged there months before. An act that was the beginning of Iron Man. This act was almost the end. So he's out for hours. Look at that face. Yeah, there are times Coletta really delivers. And as I said, there's a lot of times in the 70s, I don't think he really erased a lot. He did have some assistance, I think. But in the 70s, he was just... he was really strong, I don't think he did any Jack Kirby erasing. Why did this happen? They were out here because of a weapon I built. Gave them the promise of a faster kill, a well-oiled war. I did this. Me, Tony Stark, the Playboy genius. So he's finally coming to terms with just like the movie, too. And somebody hits him or shoots at him. Get up. Or, this was a trip, man. That was great stuff. Look at all these books. I saw all that, and I was like, I want them all. It turns out it's a kid, and he's blind. And he just says, home. And dead, all dead. Looked like my cannon worked better than I thought it would. You're at home? You're really getting the hang of the language, son. Yeah, we're home all right. He says, that's it, son. Home no more. And I did it. You hear that, God or Satan or whoever the hell is listening? That's pretty strong words for... it's an anti... it's a crisis of faith because he's experienced what he had personally delivered, the death of others, in a very hard way. So... repulsors are full force. I can only keep this for a few minutes longer without putting too great a strain on my heart. Roar! Wow. Man, that's amazing. So he wrote, it needs a tombstone, an epitaph. Something so that someone coming after will know why the mound is there. And maybe they'll ask what these people died for. The only word I can answer that is another question, why? I think that says it. I think it says it all. And he's I probably scared the pants off that kid with all that noise. And he's like, yes, son, home's okay now. And here it is. Here is the amazing money shot. Wow, I love that. And I will live to avenge those whose lives have been lost through the ignorance of men like I once was, or I will die trying, dedicated to peace. Maybe that's corny, but it was the 70s, See, there you go. John Costanza, letter raising, Phil Rages, I think. But the thing is, what's really cool about this is a lot of elements from this was used in the first movie. It was different, of course, but it really, Jon Favreau really, he was a comics fan, and that's something the current Marvel movies really lack. Like when the movie Eternals came out, I'm not going to get into all that, but and it said Jack Kirby, as the creator at the end, he had nothing Kirby-esque about it. It was nothing. And but this Jon Favreau, he's a self-admitted geek, and I wish he could have done more, but he got hired to do some other stuff, and I can only imagine it was for more money. And I don't blame him, because hey, next year nobody will want to know you. That's just how Hollywood works. That's it, everybody. Hope you enjoyed my comical books, and I will talk to you later. Bye.